Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Just before we get into today's lesson video, I just want to share an exciting announcement with you. I've started an online merch store with my logo. As you can see here, I'm rocking one of the t-shirts that I got, and I'm absolutely loving how they turned out. They're very cool. I have t-shirts and hoodies and coffee mugs and hats and everything. So if you're interested in supporting the channel, head over to the link in the description and here in the video, and you can rock some cool JR swag. And just for the next 2 weeks until August 10th, I'm having a sale for everyone where you will save 10% off your order if you use the code JR777. So thanks guys for the continuous support, and check it out if you're interested. So in today's video, we're going to be looking at one of the most important aspects of guitar solos, creating melodies, and just making your playing sound better overall. And that's going to be phrasing. So if you're not too familiar with what I mean by phrasing, it's basically the construction of your solo, the construction of your melody, and really what makes it sound great versus okay or just good. So a good way to think of phrasing is in your language. Just because you know a lot of big words, they don't really mean anything unless you can put together a well thought out, well said sentence. And it's the exact same thing musically. You may have all the technique in the world or all the speed or know all these sophisticated scales. It doesn't really mean much until you can really put together a well constructed musical sentence using it. So I'm going to try to give you an example here. I have a backing track that I made, and I'm going to do two quick solos. One where I'm not focusing on phrasing. We're going to see how that sounds. And then the second solo, I'm going to be really focusing on my phrasing and how I choose the notes. And we're going to see if you can hear the difference between the two. So playing wise, that may not sound bad. The technique is there and the notes are there. I'm in the right key, of course, but it doesn't really sound well constructed. I'm more just kind of playing through the scale and kind of getting lost in my own world instead of thinking about a construction of a solo and really focusing on phrasing. To take the analogy I was using earlier a little bit further, a great way to think of phrasing as you're playing is to kind of think almost like the construction of a paragraph and how you want to use multiple sentences that are coherent and have something to do with each other. And you kind of want to approach your playing in that same way. You have all these smaller phrases that are connected and coherent together, and you kind of need the periods at the ends of each sentence to kind of make it sound like that phrase is complete. And a nice easy way to do that is to kind of focus on your root notes. So with this backing track, I'm in F sharp minor. So I'm going to be kind of gravitating around the F sharps in whatever position I'm in. And that's really going to make it sound like my phrase is complete at that point. So now we'll try the solo again. This time I'm going to focus much more on phrasing, and see if you hear a difference. Hopefully you can hear in that second solo that I'm really focusing a lot more on phrasing and what I'm choosing to do with the notes versus the first solo where it's a little more rambling. So some of my favorite examples when it comes to outstanding phrasing, listen to the guitar solos in November Rain by Guns N' Roses, or pretty much any Slash guitar solo. He is one of the kings of phrasing. Other examples would be David Gilmour's guitar solos in Pink Floyd. When you listen to a song like Comfortably Numb, both the middle and end guitar solos are just phrased beautifully. Also think of the Hotel California guitar solo by the Eagles. That solo is arguably one of the greatest guitar solos of all time. The phrasing in that is just outstanding, and for a guitar solo to be that long and to keep the average listener's attention throughout the entire guitar solo is really difficult to do, and it's the phrasing of that solo that just makes it so captivating from beginning to end. So you may be thinking, okay, I understand the concept of phrasing, I get what you're saying, but how do I practice that? How do I put that into my practice routine? And here's one of my favorite ways to kind of work on phrasing or to inspire thinking of phrasing. I do this with students all the time, is to restrict what you have to use. So what I mean by that is, if you are a guitar player who's been playing a long time, it's really easy to kind of get wrapped up in thinking that you have to use everything you know all the time. So what I do with students is restrict what they have to use, and then you have to just think more creatively with what you have, and that's really where you kind of focus on your phrasing. So what I'll be doing in this example is I'm going to be sticking to 4 notes out of the pentatonic scale, so not even the minor or anything like that. 4 notes out of the pentatonic. Now this backing track that I'm using is in F sharp minor, so I'm going to be using the 2nd position of my F sharp minor pentatonic. So I'll be playing the 5th and 7th fret on the 2nd and 1st string. That's all I'm going to have to use, is just those 4 notes, and I'm going to have to play over the backing track. And of course the goal is to try to make it sound as interesting as possible. Don't have it sound like you're stuck to 4 notes. With this little example, you can do whatever you want with those notes. You can do bends and slides and double stops and hammer-ons and pull-offs and just anything you can think of, any technique you can think of to make it interesting. But again, with your phrasing, you have to think, okay, what do I do with these 4 notes to keep it captivating and sound good the entire time? So here's my example of using only 4 notes out of the pentatonic scale, again in 2nd position, and trying to focus on the phrasing to make it sound as interesting as possible. So as you can see in that example, I don't have a lot to use, and it forces me to think more creatively with the notes that I do have at my disposal, instead of feeling like I have the entire fretboard and I can just kind of do whatever I want, and also just get kind of stuck in the same rut of playing the things that I typically do. So give it a shot. You can restrict yourself with any scale that you know. Just give yourself a few notes of that scale, whatever you're comfortable with, and just try to improvise over a backing track and make it sound as interesting as possible. Let me know in the comments below if you find this video helpful and which solos come to your mind when you think of great phrasing. Remember guys, to subscribe for more lesson content, and as always, keep up the practice.